Hello, and welcome to the third episode of Getting Your Class to Behave with me, Sue Cowney. And in this episode, we're going to be thinking about the third of the key principles of managing behaviour, which is to be calm and to be consistent. And in the book, I describe this as thinking about saying to them, I'm always polite and I'm always fair to you. Now, it's fair to say that your learners will not always be being polite and fair in response. But what you are doing by staying calm is you are modelling for them that it is possible to stay calm even when the world is being very difficult for you. So essentially, you are modelling what emotional self-regulation looks like. Now, this is not to say, and I emphasise this in the book, that it's okay when your learners are being really difficult and their behaviour is being really challenging. It's not that it's okay, it's that you are able to demonstrate how to cope in challenging situations by demonstrating that you can stay calm. And there are various ways in which you can do this. So you might, as I recommend in the book, take a few deep breaths. You might count down from 10 in your head just to get yourself to the point where you can regulate. What you want to avoid is that instinctive response, because it feels like the class are attacking you with their behaviour, and instinctively you will feel like attacking them back unless you're a naturally very calm person. And then the third option I give you in the book, which is something I used to do in a particularly challenging school in London, is to look out of the window, and I'm doing that right now, and remind yourself there is a world out there. This is not the entire world. This is just you in a room with 30 kids, and some of them are being difficult. It's not the end of the world, okay? And all this kind of reminding yourself to stay calm, reminding yourself to breathe, will allow you to better regulate yourself in order to be consistent. So being consistent essentially means this is the standard, this is the expectation, and it is going to be the same expectation all the time, everywhere in our school or in our setting. And when I talk to teachers, when I go into schools and work with teachers on behaviour, and the head teacher invites me in, they will often say, I want you to help our staff learn to be consistent. It's like the Holy Grail, because what you don't want is a child in your school going to one teacher, and this is particularly the case in secondary, who lets them get away with lots of stuff, doesn't pick up on uniform, for instance, doesn't pick up on swearing and that kind of stuff. And then they go to the next teacher who is following the school expectations, and that teacher is picking up on these things, and that teacher is getting blamed. You're being unfair, you're picking on me, when actually they are just enforcing the established expectations. So by being consistent, you are actually supporting your colleagues with trying to implement the school policy. This is not to say that if you all implement the policy, things will magically be perfect. Because again, just remember this all the time. Children, young people are human beings, just like adults are. Even as adults, we will break the rules. We will be inconsistent. We will do things wrong as well. So the other thing to bear in mind about consistency is it's not just about teachers and staff being consistent across the school. It's also about your internal consistency in how you treat individual children or young people. And again, when I work with teachers on this, I will sort of get them to think about a couple of different kids that they've worked with. And the first kid I'll ask them to think about is the one who is lovely, who is always polite, who says thank you, who does the right thing. And I ask them to think about how that makes them feel towards that young person. And they'll sort of describe, like a golden glow. And then I ask them to think about a kid who for some reason just irritates them, gets on their nerves. And again, I ask them to sort of think about how does that make you feel? And once you acknowledge that you will feel differently about different children, different young people, you can overcome that issue. Because what you can't do as a teacher is have favourites, treat some children differently to others, and being aware that instinctively you might do that will support you not to do it. And a really good way of thinking about this is actually that the young people who are most challenging in terms of their behaviour are, generally speaking, the ones with higher levels of needs. They haven't had the boundaries set at home, they haven't had the positive reinforcement, so they actually need more scaffolding from you than the ones who can just do it easily. So it's really worth thinking about, am I treating children consistently in a single class? Am I reacting to the same behaviours in the same way? Now, this is not to say that you flex the standards. So flexible consistency is about saying these are the standards. What you can be flexible about, and this is where the scaffolding comes in, is how you get to those standards. So, for instance, one child you might be able to say, sort your uniform out, and they immediately sort it out. Another young person, you might need to have a quiet word. You might need to say, if you sort your uniform out in the next few minutes, I won't need to make a thing of it. And it's just that adaptability, that being able to scaffold behaviour for learners with different levels of needs, which is essentially what adjustments and flexibility look like. So that's all about being calm and consistent from my book, Getting Your Class to Behave. And in the next session, we're going to be talking about structure and routines and why those are so important for managing behaviour in your class. Thank you for joining me. I hope you found it useful.